Today, are you desperate for a marginal graphic improvement in selected games? Sony has your answer. This is CheckPoint.
Welcome to CheckPoint, where, God, everything is still happening all the time!
You think they'd learn? Biggest gaming news of this past week was the announcement and reveal for another one of those mid-generation refreshes that Sony and Microsoft are so fond of doing, because the platform is still solid, but you haven't bought a console in 4 years. It was Sony's turn this time as they unveiled the PS5 Pro. Same Wi-Fi router-ass form factor, but now with a ventilated racing stripe. What does it do? It make graphics better. In the presentation, Mark Cerny went into medium depth about how PS5 games often have that fidelity versus performance toggle and how the PS5 Pro will make games, some games, the games that voluntarily optimize for it, look like fidelity, but play like performance. Suffice to say, it's going to make games look nicer. But at what cost? Great question, terrible answer, $700. Yeah. Over 7,600 Norwegian kroner for a mid-gen refresh that cannot come with a disk drive. They've done away with that model, so you'll need to get an external accessory for $80 if you're a physical media enjoyer. But frankly, the truly egregious part of this announcement, right there in small text at the end of the trailer. Vertical stand sold separately. Hey, Sony, I like your stuff. I've been a player of stations since the PS1, but with all sincerity, fuck off. You only show this thing vertical, but I can't actually do that without an aftermarket hunk of plastic. You couldn't bundle that shit in for the $700 price tag? Pathetic.
Grand Theft Auto games are known for having banger soundtracks and in-game radio stations stuffed with both beloved hits and well-curated deep cuts from bygone eras. A great example of the kind of thing that might end up on a GTA soundtrack is something like Heaven 17's 1983 hit Temptation. Or at least the synth pop banger, and you should go look it up because I did and it's pretty good, would have been on the soundtrack for GTA 6 if Rockstar Games had offered songwriter Martin Ware more than $7,500. And no, not 7,500 pounds. According to Ware's Twitter, it was $7,500 in exchange for all future royalties. Sounds unreasonable, but as you can see from this earnings chart, right here, Rockstar's parent company, Take-Two Interactive, isn't making the line go up by paying out fairly for hundreds of millions of streams. And I know that some people are saying Ware is greedy, but that chart is in the thousands of millions of dollars. That means Take-Two made $5 billion last year. They don't need you to defend them. Not for free. My God, people, don't simp for corpos. If you're really into Findom, at least hire an independent business person to do that to you. You'll get much more personal service. Have some self-respect.
PS5 owners have been enjoying their now casual consoles with its latest first-party release, Astro, a fully realized version of PS5 demo app and PlayStation Nostalgia Museum Astro's Playroom. Astro is a full-platform game and love letter to the history of Sony's console, with everyone from Nathan Drake to Polygon Man, who, by the way, was an early PlayStation of America mascot and debuted at E3 1995 before the global brand director saw him and thought he was sending the wrong message and also looked bad. Speaking of bad looks, not everyone has been loving the hype for Astro. Bend Studio, developer of PlayStation motorbiking and zombie survival game Days Gone, posted a cute little cartoon of Days Gone protagonist Deke, aka Deacon Lee St. John, congratulating Astro developer team Asobi on the launch of their game. You've probably seen small studios do this before, a little social media engagement through positivity, and it makes even more sense in this case since Team Asobi and Bend Studio are both first-party developers for PlayStation, owned by Sony. But none of this matters to John Garvin, the game director of Days Gone, who took to Twitter to express his umbrage at seeing Deke promoting another game, adding, quote, "Way to go, Bend Studio, way to protect your legacy." You may have inferred that Garvin doesn't work there anymore and hasn't for years, and indeed, Bend Studio once had to publicly disown him after he alleged that Days Gone was only poorly scored because of woke reviewers. And while this wasn't mentioned specifically, probably also because he's evidently the sort of person to get into prolonged Twitter arguments because he thinks Astro is some small game, and he's annoyed that Team Asobi considers Days Gone a competently developed thought experiment to answer the question, what if we put Sons of Anarchy into The Walking Dead, an important enough moment in PlayStation history to include in the game with Kratos and Crash Bandicoot? Wouldn't it be funny if this made Sony greenlight a sequel and he wasn't involved?
Are you familiar with the Game UI database? It's a really neat website. It's free, and it has screenshots and videos of UI elements from over 1,300 games, and it just completed a big redesign to give it better search functionality. It's basically a communal design resource for the game development industry. And we all know what happens to free resources online nowadays, don't we? Say it with me, everybody. Scraped by AI so someone else could profit from it. Big ups to Game Developer for their excellent coverage of the whole affair, but here's a very high-level summary for you. Shortly after the game's UI database relaunches, the site becomes laggy and unresponsive, and eventually shuts down entirely, returning a 502 bad gateway error. The site admins investigate and discover that something is pulling 70 gigabytes of data from the server every 10 minutes. So the culprit? OpenAI, whose bots were loading and then reloading the site over 200 times a second, failing to navigate the site after its redesign, and then getting stuck in a loop and endlessly repeating their queries over and over again until they broke the website entirely because AI cannot think. It can only put together things that make you think it can. And now the game UI database has blocked OpenAI at the server level and the site works fine. So go look at some game menus while you think about making some deeply anti-capitalist art, because you must not let someone with no imagination steal yours.
And that was all the gaming news that caught our eyes this week, but what was the most degenerate thing you thought happened? Tell us in the comments below.
And then tell us what you had for lunch.
And about your hopes and dreams.
And what you'd rather be doing.
What makes you cry?
When was the last time that you felt vulnerable?
Why do you... So, okay, typically you write the intros and outros.
Yeah.
They're getting longer.
Well, we've been doing this for 12 years now. The low-hanging fruit's gone.
Also, the tone is different.
Yeah, it's a bit more surreal.
A bit more like a cry for help.
I can't help it. I'm very depressed.
Well, have you seen the great comedy gaming news show CheckPoint?
But doctor, this is CheckPoint.
I thought you said all the low-hanging fruit was gone.
Coming up, FromSoft has patched Shadow of the Erdtree to make the extremely challenging final boss easier. Reactions from all one of the gamers I've polled has been positive, with them now optimistic that they might be able to beat the game when he's done messing around with Space Marine.
Yay.
It's not Mesmer that they fixed. Apparently Mesmer's just fine. You beat Mesmer.
I beat Mesmer.
Mesmer's okay.
Mesmer's okay.
Mesmer's just another unloved son of Melania. Melania. America. Fuck, who's Melania?
A different
They
character.
did this on purpose.
Yeah, there's Melania and Melina and Marika.
It's not as bad as Renala
And
and Relana.
Yeah.
They're doing it to fuck with you.
Oh, the worst one, actually, you've probably never even seen because he's like a really bad side boss. But there's Godfrey. And then there's Godefroy.
Oh, right. Godefroy.
Godefroy.
That's just rude.
It's very rude. You know what else is rude?
My general tone and demeanor to authority figures.
I mean, yeah, sure. But also, late breaking news.
Oh, yeah. Those cowards.
Yeah, Unity. I mean, this is good news, actually. Unity has completely done away with their runtime fee. We reported on this a while ago. And I thought that they had walked it back. We also thought this, but apparently they... I remember now that because we did a follow-up story, they made it less bad, but now they've just they've done away with it forever. What we were saying is the cowards at Unity posting this story at the middle of Thursday afternoon, knowing that they'll dodge CheckPoint because we won't have had time to write about it.
I mean, at what point do we actually become a beloved gaming news institution?
Oh, soon I hope. It's been 12 years. Any day now, Surely.
Please take my angry takes, my lukewarm fury.
The
This is some good ASMR, right?
The Games UI database, by the way,
very cool.
Very cool website. That was a lot of fun checking that out. And it's wild that they literally were like, if we just block this one IP address, the site starts running fine.
Yeah.
70 gigs every 10 minutes?
Yeah, the game developer article goes into so much more detail, and there's lots of pull quotes and stuff. I just pulled out like the sort of the numbers to really back up the sheer audacity of the. It's basically it was a DDoS attack, just to also scrape.
Yeah. And the GTA thing, I saw some people talking about this on the, man, do not go to the GTA subreddit if you want sympathy
Stop
for
simping for corpos, you idiots.
Again, don't simp for corpos for free.
Yeah, I mean, if they're going to pay to put you on the payroll like you're some sort of Russian asset, I suppose get your bag, but...
I guess. But it was $7,500 American per songwriter, of which there were 3. So that was the total offer, was like $22,000. That's it. And
for like unlimited reproduction and plays, which is a very bad deal.
Yeah.
Or like all physical merchandise in the game, streams, everything.
Yeah. And people were asking, they're like, well, what would you consider fair? And they were like, I don't know, like 75,000, because that's like much closer to industry standards. And also GTA 5 made $8 billion. So like,
yeah,
and
like
it's not like Take-Two doesn't have the money.
Yeah, like here's the deal. Like, oh, it's being greedy. It's like, no, those used to be industry standards because musicians used to be able to write a hit song and then make a modicum of living off it for the rest of their lives. That used to be a career that you could do. You could be a professional musician. You did not need to be Beyonce. You were not going to live in wealth and luxury. You might have a suburban house somewhere. Mm-hmm. But no, how dare those greedy people want to live? Only spend, no pay.
Also, that song is pretty cool.
You
were playing it last night, and I was like, what is this? Is this, because I thought you were listening to your like Apple Music algorithmic playlist or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, boy, this really sounds like it's from the mid 80s. And you're like, yeah, it's from 1983. I'm like, oh, cool.
I mean, you would be forgiven for being like, what is this weird shit you're listening to, though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's my vibe.
Yeah, exactly. This is you.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe they are a bit of a cry for help.
What, the intros and outros? Maybe. It was Sony's term this time. Sorry, I was sort of out of breath for that. Bend Studio, developer of PlayStation Motor Viking. Motor Viking? That sounds sick as hell.
Are you? No.
I'm not, actually.
But Doctor, I am CheckPoint.
Hey, thanks everybody for watching. We really appreciate it. Reminder that everything that we do here is supported directly by you and your support of our Patreon at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun, or by becoming a member here on the YouTube channel. Shout outs to follow. Yeah, we'll be back next week. And if you are a Magic the Gathering enjoyer, the pre-release is tomorrow at time of airing, or possibly happening right now if you're watching this on Friday.
So close this YouTube window.
Or you missed it.
And then go over to a different YouTube window and watch us streaming Duskmourn House of Horror, which is the brand new Magic the Gathering expansion with, of course, all of us and special guest and award-winning author Shauna McGuire, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Motor Vikings.